I saw this on MSNBC yesterday. MAGA spiraling over Harris becoming the nominee. Are you spiraling, sir?
What's interesting is when 300,000 people overdosed on fentanyl because of this southern border and because of the failure of Kamala Harris, the left doesn't seem to mind. When 12, 13, and 14-year-old girls get raped by illegals in Iowa, New York, Virginia, Louisiana, and Texas, the left doesn't seem to mind. But when we stand up and point out the truth, then suddenly they're offended. And so this is the problem with the left and the woke corporate media, is they're going to try and reinvent Kamala Harris into a person that she's not. In reality, she's an absolute abject failure.
How so? Give me your top 3 reasons why she is no good. And then we've been trying to make the point that she's more than just someone with a bad laugh,
right?
And an annoying laugh, and more than just a DEI hire or whatever, and more than someone who just slept her way to the top. Like, she's like dangerous. Like, she believes in things that are really, really bad for this country. So what are your top ones?
Well, so, one, the southern border. That in and of itself is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. But the southern border. You look at her failure and her complicit involvement in covering up for the fact that the commander-in-chief, Joe Biden, isn't capable of functioning in the White House, and we have a constitutional crisis really unfolding before our eyes. And what did she do? She sat down. She didn't say anything. Why? Because it's all about preserving herself. Then you look at her track record as a senator. Like, she's against private health care. Like, she doesn't want you to be able to buy insurance. Her policies would gut the middle class. But yet at her rally yesterday, she talked about, there was total nothing there. There was no substance. But she's talking about how she's going to fight for the middle class, how she's going to give the middle class all this opportunity. But in reality, when you look at her policies, when you look at the things she was against and what she voted for, it would decimate the middle class. And so we've got to define her. We have to tell the American people who she really is. And that's part of the process of these impeachment articles is, one, to hold her accountable for her failure. Look, she was the border czar. And if she's the czar of the border, she's an absolute failure of a czar. And then, of course, her track record as a senator.
Okay, let me push back. Let me give you the left wing's argument on the border czar. She wasn't the border czar. You conservatives have made this up. She was put in charge of investigating the root causes that are in countries to our south that are leading to this increase in border activity. That's what she was in charge of. What do you say to that?
Well, again, it's complete nonsense, and that's what the left does. They can't run on policy. They can't run on facts, so they have to rewrite history. And so the question is when these little girls are being raped by illegals, where's Kamala Harris? Where's the outrage? Where are the calls to the leaders of Central and South America who have emptied their prisons of rapists and murderers and sent them to the United States of America? You've got some of the most ruthless and violent gangs in Central and South America that have never had a foothold in our country that do now in multiple cities. Why? Because of the Biden-Harris administration's willingness to import anyone that wants to come into this country. And there's a reason why they've done that. When you look at the census, when you look at this next census, the census counts every individual in a given state. California and New York have had mass population flights. And so what are they doing? They're literally backfilling California and New York with illegals so that they don't lose house seats. So this is about reapportionment of the House of Representatives. Why else would Joe Biden and Kamala Harris ignore the mayor of Chicago, the mayor of Dallas, the mayor of New York to say, please fix the border? Hey, border czar, why don't you come down here and help us? Harris was absent. She was busy cackling. She didn't do her job. She's incapable of doing her job. And I'm not going to back down because the leftist media is offended that I want to hold her accountable.
She wants health care for illegal aliens. I have the full clip somewhere. This is a edited version of it. This is from the Dave McCormick ad. Sorry, 1 second. I got a billion tabs open here. Here we go. 3, 2. I think it's at the end right here.
Victim of sexual assault, they should be able to vote?
I think we should have that conversation. We have to have a buyback program, and I support a mandatory buyback program.
How about that mandatory buyback program for guns? And we played the clip a second ago where she was in Australia saying, listen, we should do the same thing you guys did in Australia. And they confiscated 1 million guns. All right, here, I think there's one more.
So for people out there who like their insurance, well, they don't get to keep it.
Let's eliminate all of that. Let's move on.
I am opposed to any policy that would deny any human being public health, period.
There it is. Okay, so the question was healthcare for illegal aliens.
Yeah.
And she said, I'm against any policy that would deny healthcare for illegal aliens.
Which is absolute nonsense. Who pays for that? The middle class pays for that. And so her policies would be transformative, but not in a good way. It would destroy our economy. Look, Obamacare was a failure. It needs to be grossly reformed. Our budget deficits are being driven up by healthcare in particular. We've got to reform that and be smart about it, and giving illegals who are in violation of law, who came here against our laws, who did not come in the right way, to give them healthcare. Look, in some states, depending on the benefits package, you can have an illegal immigrant with the health care and the translators and the housing and the food stamps and the phones, that they get as much or more in the way of benefits and subsidies than someone enlisting in the Army as a private. There's a problem with that equation. We're asking Americans to sign up and risk their lives to protect the homeland of their country, and yet we're going to give someone who comes here illegally, perhaps someone who was just released from prison, we're going to give them some sort of equal compensation as that person that joins the military. If I have to choose between our sons and our daughters and our wives from being attacked from an illegal, I'm going to choose them. I'm going to choose the Americans. If I have to choose between someone who's enlisting in the Army and illegals, I'm going to choose our sons and daughters that are joining the military. In fact, I have the bill that would create the largest deportation in American history. Why? Because it's our country. We get to decide who comes in. We also get to decide who has to leave.
What would your bill do? That one you just talked to?
So it would create, so anyone who came in this country illegally under Joe Biden, they would automatically be required to leave this country, go back to the country of origin. If they want to come back, they can apply, but the odds of that happening are very low. Why? Because, again, we have to have a secure southern border. We've caught roughly 400 individuals on the terror watch list at the southern border. We have caught individuals with bomb-making material at the southern border. There's an Iranian assassin, last time I've been updated, loose in this country that we have yet to capture. These people walked into our country because of the failure of our border czar, Kamala Harris. I am surprised that we haven't had a terrorist attack in this country yet, because we know we have terror cells, active terror cells on our homeland, and Kamala Harris and Joe Biden are to blame.
Hold on, no, Congressman. I got a pause. I got a question more about your deportation bill. But you just said the N-word. You intentionally mispronounced her name, and Mika Brzezinski told me yesterday that if you say her name the wrong way, you are engaging in hate talk, hate speak.
Well, I'm from the South and I speak the way I speak. And if that offends someone, don't come to Nashville. But let me tell you.
Here it is. Here's Mika. You're engaging in a hate campaign.
And I've heard from inside Republican circles and right-wing media that the hate campaign against Kamala Harris has begun. You'll notice they purposefully pronounce her name wrong. They say Kamala. They do it all the time. It is on purpose. But
you are degrading her. You're a misogynist and a racist by calling her, by mispronouncing her name.
Well, let me tell you, I was on a program this morning, a national news program on TV. My last name is pronounced Ogles, and she called me Ogles. Now, I just want to know if that mispronunciation applies to me as well. I don't think it does. And so that comment and that line of thinking is absolutely absurd, right?
That's a good point. Where is Ogles from? What is that?
East Tennessee. So if you look at kind of the Gatlinburg, the Pigeon Forge, the Smoky Mountain area, there was 5 families that helped settle that part of the state, and that lineage kind of started in East Tennessee and moved out west, quote unquote, to the unsettled area of Nashville. So my family's been in the state of Tennessee for a very, very long time.
Where does it come before that? What's it before that?
It would have been North Carolina, and then, of course, by way of England, like so many Americans.
It was an England name. Okay, it was an English name.
That's
Ogles.
Right. That's right. So there's
we talked to a cloud. We talked to Congress a cloud the other day, and that name's from England as well. Okay, I forgot what you were saying, but I just had to highlight your racist hate speech that was going on. Okay, so but I was on your bill, your deportation bill. So would your deportation bill, if it passes, and this is why we need to win this election, would it trump whatever asylum hearings people already have established for, like 8 years from now? It's just like, nope, sorry, that's canceled. You got to go.
Well, so this is why the Biden administration was trying to create essentially a new status for illegals, is so that they would have that coverage and couldn't be forced deported. And so it's important that we move swiftly. That first 100 days when Donald Trump is president of the United States, and we have the Senate, and we have the House. I've spoken to the president personally, President Trump, about the fact that we're going to have to deport individuals. And look, that's going to be a painful process. But when you look at any other country in the world, Canada, Mexico, France, Germany, if you or I go there and we overstay our visa, if we come into the country illegally, they have no problem kicking our butts out. If we're in there and we're on a work visa and we violate their laws, they're going to put us in jail and they're going to kick our butts out. Everybody else does it that way. And so this idea that we can't do it is absurd. And again, we are a sovereign nation. We have rules, we have laws, we have borders, and we should enforce those. And it also means we have to enforce them to the point of deporting people.
Congressman Andy Ogles, whatever.
Right. Hate speech.
Don't be racist.
Hate speech.
Congressman, great to talk to you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you.